This is the SAU Report, a program featuring interviews with the faculty, staff, students, and alumni of Southern Arkansas University in Magnolia.
Welcome to this edition of the SAU Report. I'm Kerry Bubien.
And I'm Stefan Roth.
Today we will be talking with Dr. Velma Jones and Derek Lane. Velma is the Southern Arkansas University's yearbook advisor, and Derek is the Mulerider's editor. Thank you both for joining us today. Derek, how did you get involved with the yearbook?
When I started here in SAU, I had an interest in photography, and I really hadn't had any classes in high school or anything. And also, I saw an ad in the Bray that they needed photographers. And also my girlfriend's idea, she wanted to write. She saw they needed reporters and stuff. So we both went down to the not the yearbook office, but the Bray office to go see if we can get some jobs. And Cheryl Leggett, the editor at the time, she gave us a couple of jobs. And I started shooting pictures and stuff, and I started working for the Bray on the side just a little bit, shooting pictures. And Emma really didn't catch on. She was my girlfriend. She didn't really write too much. She didn't catch interest, but I stayed on with the photography. And all the way through, I would talk to Mr. Marvin, the advisor for the Bray, and he would, show me some things about photography, and slowly I learned and got a little bit better and everything else. And and then I guess one day it was mid-semester around Christmas or so, and I always noticed that the Mulerider office was like adjoining from the Bray office, and I asked Cheryl what was the situation over there, and she kind of told me some things about the Mulerider, and she mentioned that they needed a photographer. So I applied for the job, and they had a photographer at the time, but she had I guess had a falling out with the editor, and she had quit. So the next semester, the spring semester, I had talked with Dr. Skelton, the advisor from the Mulerider at the time, and the editor Angelique, and we worked some things out, and I went on as their their photographer. And then after that year went on and moved on, and they had a selection process for the editorship, and I just decided that it might be a good idea to try to go out for editor. There wasn't too many candidates up at the time. There was only 3 of us, I think, and I got the job. That's basically how I got started, just through photography.
Derek, since you started in the newspaper business, could you describe the differences between newspaper and yearbook?
Well, I guess the biggest difference is that the annual is yearly publication, and the Bray is every week, and more of the news that they handle is week by week basis, stuff that happens now, and the yearbook usually just want to cover the major events that happen throughout the year, just kind of I guess mainly just making it a book so everybody kind of remembers their year that year, kind of like a book of memories or something like that they can really relate to when they look at it. They want to remember some things. But the biggest difference, I guess, is just that we do it's more broad in general, in that you want to more write towards more of a magazine type of a book, not than a newspaper. More of a it's just kind of more hard news and stuff like that.
Velma, what is your background as a yearbook advisor or in the media business in general?
Okay. Well, I hate to mention years because then it would give away my age, and I do have my AARP card. But years ago, I majored in home economics, and I have a master's and a bachelor's in that. And I won't make any remarks about what my husband says about those degrees, but I did look for a job after I married, and I couldn't find anything in that area. And it was a small school in Bubien, Arkansas, and I said, kind of like, what do you need? And they said, well, maybe English and journalism. And I went that summer and finished up, basically at that point, a minor in English and journalism. And so then after that, I taught English and journalism for 20 years as we moved around Arkansas in Bubien, Cabot, Jacksonville, Heber Springs, Camden, and now Magnolia. When I got to Magnolia, I couldn't get a job in the high school, so I came out here. And this is my 7th year, but it's my first year with Mulerider, but I've got a lot of secondary school experience advising newspapers and yearbooks and teaching photography.
That's wonderful. Velma, how long have you been the advisor for the Mulerider?
I guess I officially I actually said I would do it back about April or May, I can't remember, but I
Of last year.
Of last year, when Dr. Skelton was, had had a heart attack and was trying to unload some of the stress from his life.
So why did you take on such a big responsibility?
Well, it may speak to my sanity. I'm not certain. Some of my friends would say that, but I enjoy doing things like that. I enjoy challenges. At the time, I didn't know it was going to be quite as much a challenge as it has been. But I guess it just kind of gets in your blood. Journalism does that sort of thing, that sort of stress, because it is a stress because there are always deadlines. So I hate to use this word, but I volunteered, and that gets me in trouble a lot. But I volunteered to do the mule rider. We're kind of mixed up, aren't we?
Get the names all mixed up all the time.
Derek, give us a short overview of how many hours you have to put in the yearbook, daily or weekly.
Daily, it's just kind of, it varies daily to my class schedule, of course, but I try to put in at least, it's usually about 3 or 4 hours a day. On average, it comes out to about 30 hours a week or so. But it just varies on how it is during the week or something like that. Is there a lot of events to cover and things like that, and of course around deadline times, and we do have more work to do for layouts and stuff like that, but it just kind of varies. But about 30 hours or so. But most of the staff kind of just comes in, and I have them come in in certain hours of the week, and I go in with them, and we just kind of we come in a lot of different times, and sometimes on weekends, and sometimes I'm there like at night till 9 or something like that doing certain things, or sometimes along with the Bray, I'm working with the Bray sometimes with photography, that I'll be there at night also for a few hours at night, usually that I wouldn't usually be there during the rest of the week.
Derek, I know last year the staff ran around campus taking pictures, and it looked like they were doing work and working real hard. But at the beginning of this year, there was no yearbook to recapture last year's memories. Could you explain that?
Well, when I did get on first with the yearbook as photographer, I really noticed the main thing about the mule rider at the time was whenever I went into Bray, that the door was never open and there was never anybody there. And Cheryl kind of explained to me that it's not working as well as it should have been at the time. And when I first got there, I kind of had a sense that there wasn't too much work being done. There was only a few staff members that I had seen on a regular basis.
So at the beginning of the year, you noticed that it wasn't like towards the end?
No, I had noticed it immediately that there was something not happening. But the editor, Angelique, assured everyone that there was work being done, and at the time I was just catching up on the work that the photographer had not completed, and I was catching up on those things and taking pictures and doing all the photographic duties. And I had seen a few staff members that did come in on a regular basis and have their work done, but about April or so, well, actually before then, it was around Dr. Skelton had a heart attack, and it was kind of another thing that kind of made everything a little more confusing. And well, he and I had talked a lot about the situation at the time, how the editor wasn't really doing her job, but every time there was a confrontation with her that actually went to her for an explanation, she assured everyone who talked to her that it would have been done, and it was being done, and there was work being done. But at the time, I guess it just really they put a lot of trust into her and they did have a little bit. I guess they trusted her because they'd known her for so long, and
we're adults, and when we say something's going to get done,
usually it does get done. And also the year before, she had saved the yearbook from the same situation that came to this year, that another editor had decided to leave, and Angelique was the one who picked up the slack and actually got it done. And I guess that was another factor in believing her. But in the end, it really was. There wasn't much done in the book, and I really don't. There's many reasons why I guess that she just slipped through the cracks. Really, I guess I could see why they trusted her, but at the time I really didn't know. I think also because Dr. Skelton, trusted her also, and then he did have a heart attack. It was kind of just, he was really he had a lot of things to think about besides the year, but he did all he could. That he tried to get her to complete it, but it really wasn't. There wasn't really much I don't think there really was much anybody could have done at the time because they waited so long.
Right.
And it was just, by the time everybody realized what was happening, it was already over.
Well, Velma, how much effect does this situation put, or something like this to happen? How much does this affect the student body, do you think, with something like this happening?
Well, I'm not really sure. We talked just a little earlier about a situation that has existed actually for several years, where we've wondered if there was as much student interest in yearbooks as there has been in the past. And it seems that each year we find that we have had fewer and fewer students coming in to have their pictures made, and fewer students who actually go to the trouble to even pick up a yearbook. And we told a view of one example where we put a table at a football game, or they did, at a football game with free yearbooks on the table to take free of charge, and nobody would take the yearbooks. And so my first visit to the yearbook office, I said, "Derek, what are those boxes over there?" And he said, "Those are last year's yearbooks." And I said, "Oh gosh, it looks like quite a few." Well, it was about 750 yearbooks that had not even, actually the boxes had not even been opened. And then we learned that every office on campus just about has 6 or 8 or 10 yearbooks from '96. And we've used a large number of those for recruiting purposes. We do every year. And yet we still had 750 that we really just couldn't give away, and we didn't have the money to pay people to take them. And we have had a number of thefts on campus. We thought about just sending out yearbooks saying, "Hey, steal the yearbooks. Take a look at it. Maybe you'll learn something." But anyway, so we kind of tried to take a new look at whether students are really still interested in having a yearbook. So we kind of assumed that maybe they are, because it is a record that might not be quite as important to them next year or the next as it is maybe 10 years from now or 20 years from now. And so we decided to go on with this. And actually, we left it up to the staff to decide what they wanted to do as far as if they wanted to take on this extra, I'll use the word burden, responsibility of trying to do 2 yearbooks. And so Derek said he would, which means they're kind of doing 2 jobs for the price of 1. And I'll let Derek, you want to tell him what we plan to do this year? Because a lot of people are not sure.
Well, I guess we just decided to make one yearbook have 2 years and just span 2 years. And it'll just be a section dedicated to one, last year's book. It'll be shorter than this year's, a full book. It's probably around 75 pages for the year. And then we're still working on exact numbers, but it's just going to be in 2, and then it'll be just when we pick up the yearbooks, whoever didn't get one last year, this last year's seniors who graduated will try to be notified and to come either send postage to get their books or, come and get them to pick them up. But
that sounds good.
Yeah. Who made these decisions? The SAU's publication committee, or who decided of doing a big issue? Or
Well, we hassled it around. I think Derek made the decision.
really?
Yes, my first decision was, wow, I've already taken on a large responsibility. I sure don't want to go backwards,
Because I know that the publication committee had some meetings. And
They did, but they didn't actually decide, did they?
Well, I think that they just kind of they decided to let us decide,
Right,
basically,
okay.
and we just made sure that they knew that the money, were still, that had been paid to the yearbook company was still there, so there wouldn't be a problem with budget, and we're okay there, and we can go ahead. It was possible to do 2 yearbooks, and they just said, well, if it's up, they basically, I guess they let us decide, the staff, if it was okay with them, we could just go ahead and do 2 in 1, and just kind of let it, so we wouldn't have to drop last year's yearbook.
And President Gamble, he had a suggestion that we include a CD-ROM version of the yearbook. What happened to that?
I don't know for sure that was his. Several suggestions were tossed out at one of the meetings that we had. My first recollection of someone mentioning CD-ROM was from Dale Whitman, who sent me a journal article that he had noticed about some other large university, I think in the East, that had gone to CD-ROM, and he just noted, Velma, think about it, and so then I think that idea kind of got tossed around. I don't even know where it actually originated, but the first I had heard of it was from Dale Whitman, and so he may not know that he has that notoriety. But Dr. Gamble did bring that up because I think some people had mentioned it to him because it's thing of the future people are telling us.
I think last year around April, so when the editor selection began, I'm not sure, I think it was Dr. Pyle or someone in administration brought up a suggestion that the whole yearbook go to CD-ROM, and the committee voted to keep the format as it is now, just a book format. That a CD-ROM would probably cost too much, and then also the technology would not be, the way technology moves, it'd probably be, CD-ROMs may not be in the future, and also some students don't even have computers, and it was too much of a, you probably have to produce a book and a CD-ROM at the same time. So they decided to keep the format as a book. And that was, I think that was, I'm not sure who exactly brought that up, but I remember it was discussed last year. I'm not sure if, I wasn't in the meetings for this year. The meetings were kind of in weird times, so I'm not sure if, about this year, and this is the first I've heard of it, but yeah.
DeBray also reported on September 11 that Dr. Gamble stated a hardbound issue of the yearbook is not appreciated by the students. Velma, could you say anything about that?
Okay, I don't remember those exact words, but I might have said something similar to that myself based on the knowledge that I had, and I think maybe a lot of the confusion that has existed has been because a lot of people don't know the full story, and I think in journalism y'all probably find that very often. You just get bits and pieces, and so there have been accusations made and a lot of strong statements. A lot of them need clarification, I think, and maybe a broadening of knowledge. And so we were just looking at, and I gave this example to somebody. If I sold used cars, or I sold cars, let's just say, and one year I decided to order 1,600, that's how many yearbooks, 1,600 lime green station wagons, okay. And at the end of that year, I look out there and, maybe 3/4 of them are still sitting there, From a business standpoint, I'd say, did I make a mistake? Is this something that the people in this locale or this nation or this town or whatever want, And, logically you'd say, well, they must not have liked lime green station wagons, so you'd take a look at it from a viewpoint, do I want to spend my money in another way? And I really think this is the point Dr. Gamble was trying to make. I don't think he resented spending the money if it's something that students wanted and were willing to be involved in that they would have their picture taken, and also in that they would pick up their copy at the end of the year. And neither of these things were happening. Dr. Ball told me early on, I don't remember the exact figures, but if we looked at the yearbook the last couple of years, it would appear to the outsider that the university was about 1/3 the size that it is, because you look and there may be, I don't know how many people had their picture made, but not nearly the number that are actually enrolled here. And so we do use it for recruiting purposes, like I told you. And then alumni look at that. And we want the book, this story album, this picture and story album of the year to accurately reflect what we do here and how many of us there are here, what the university really is. And it seems like it wasn't doing that. And so we've contemplated, we've hashed and rehashed a lot of ideas as to what we should do for the students, what they want done. It's even been brought up that maybe at some time when we were having homecoming, which we've already elections or some kind of elections, that we would add to the ballot, do you still want a yearbook? With the students and with the alumni, even with the faculty and staff, to just do a general, survey, questionnaire, whatever, to see how everybody feels about it,
Well, with the Student Life doing the yearbook pictures in their office, they still are doing that. Am I right about that?
Yeah, the ID pictures will be your yearbook picture this year.
Right, so that'll increase. That's something positive to think about, that there will be more pictures in the yearbook as far as mug shots and all that.
And this is an ideal year for Derek and me, because this is the first year they're doing that new ID. Now we learned that from now on they'll use that same ID, so next year we don't know what we'll do to get those pictures made.
Usually there has been, I'm not sure, like Olin Mills or somebody would come down and we wouldn't have to pay for their services, because usually the person when they got their picture taken, they order pictures, so they got free business out of it. The only thing was, I guess it was the advertising of the pictures, and then some people just don't really want to come down and get their picture taken, and I guess there were some ideas that I had during registration, when you do registration maybe, that when you go down to the registrar's office, at the end of the hall, you have a photographer waiting there, so you can grab everybody who comes out the door, and just take the picture real quick and set them out, take the picture and then, move them on out. And then if need be, use their picture 4 years in a same picture, freshman year.
It's been suggested to us that they be archived. Those people who don't have their picture taken the next year.
My high school yearbook was like that. The freshman year, same picture until my senior year, when we had.
So if you don't like that picture, get in there and
you better get another one. Yeah.
And let's clarify something that I told Derek, people were asking, faculty and staff have been saying, oh no, does this mean? And the answer is
well,
no.
They're having their group pictures.
They're having group pictures
through their
like,
schools and stuff, and respective schools, and then
like we've done in the past.
Yeah, so they'll be in a group shot.
Well, that'll be good.
So how much money does it cost to print a yearbook, and are we going to have a smaller issue next year?
Larger issue.
Well, I think the way it works, usually a usual year, it costs approximately, I'm trying to think of the number, about $32,000, around that much, to print, for printing costs and everything. After all the costs, that's the printing budget, around about that much. This year it's about $42,000, but we had about $19,000 from last year's budget that we are allowed to use because it's already been paid to the company, that we're just transferring that money over from, since last year's book wasn't printed, the Herf Jones, the yearbook company, is just going to transfer that money into this year's account. So we have $19,000 extra. So we're allowed, this year's book will be about 75 to 100 pages extra, but won't cost anything extra to this year's budget because of the extra money we had. But
Probably the nicest book that the students will ever get.
yeah, we're allowed.
Largest and the nicest, for sure.
Largest and the nicest that we can get right now. I guess if students, maybe if students are more interest is raised, maybe we can actually get more money and then keep this up for the next years to come.
Well, Derek, do you get a scholarship for being an editor? Like, how much is it? And plus, you get regular work.
Yeah, I'm eligible for regular work, not federal, but I have a scholarship from the. I guess it's just through mass communications or through the budget. They have $500 per semester, and I guess the same for the Bray editor. And actually, the first I heard of it was around last semester. I didn't really hear about it until the end of it, that they actually did get a scholarship. I just thought it was just the hours. So,
Well, Velma, with the editor getting some money, now that you've taken over as advisor, and the yearbook is expected to be produced and it doesn't go to press and the students come back and there is no yearbook, what type of measures would the school or does the school take to reprimand, I guess, Angelique, or if it is her fault that the yearbook did not go, or did not come out?
I really don't know. I guess I'm just kind of like the average, I'm not a student, well I am too actually, but I've heard rumors and I don't really know enough to speak to that question. Of course, because of the situation last year, the administration has kind of suggested that we more closely scrutinize, what's going on this year. I told Dr. Skelton, I said, you must have done a whole lot of praying in the past years, and he said he did. And I probably will do that too, but we're kind of setting up, Derek and I and the staff worked on some regular deadlines each month, that probably won't be mailed into the yearbook, but at least we'll see regular productivity, as opposed to in the past when we just waited until the end of the year and in
sent it
September
all in.
sent it all in, and nobody really knew whether there was or was not anything until September when it should arrive, and then it didn't this year, and then of course a lot of rumors got out, about what was or was not going to happen, and so really we're happy that you gave us this opportunity to explain to the people who will
Derek,
watch.
does this put pressure on you? You feel a lot of pressure since this did happen?
well, in the beginning, it was my point of view that I guess the university just didn't take any. I'm not sure if they're taking any action. Like she said, we don't know what they're doing right now. But the way I looked at it at the beginning was that when we first got here last semester was that they were looking at us a little bit more closely than usual, and it was a little bit different. But I knew they had good reason to be a little bit more cautious. I didn't think it was fair at first, but I really think that that we shouldn't be judged on past year's actions, you know. But of course, you know, if it happens, you know, it's still not going to change their feelings. But we've worked it out, so we think we're going to have we're not going to have any more problems. You know, I don't think we're feeling. I'm not really feeling too much of the pressure. I think Dr. Jones has got a lot more than I do, but she lets me, you know, feel it a little bit too, you know, once in a while. But no, I think in the beginning of the year it was more so than now. Everybody's loosened up, everybody's calmed down. You know, so as the year progresses on, everybody kind of sees it. You know, if we show them we're doing, you know, work, and you know, the committee knows that we're doing things, and so does administration, that everybody just kind of calms down and let everything just cool off a little bit from the beginning of the year, and everything will just kind of, there's not really that much pressure anymore. Well, there is, but it's kind of more on a, you know, from the staff and myself. You know, we just have to. It's just the job. But I guess it also comes from, you know, the differences between the, you know, the paper, and also that it's just a yearly type of thing. We want to kind of work it in so each month we know that we're actually doing. They know that we're actually doing something. So it's a little bit different. Trying to show you the whole year. You can't show you the whole year, you know, at one time until the end. So
it's kind of like schoolwork. As a long-time teacher, you know, we always encourage our students, you know, not to wait till the last minute to do that term paper, and not to wait till the last minute to study all 15 chapters for that test, you know, and a lot of students do. So that's kind of what we're doing this year, you know, to make sure that, you know, the staff doesn't wait till that last minute, you know, and they're producing regularly. And so they've met their first deadline of 32 pages, which is great.
Derek, how many people are on your staff right now?
Right now there is 3 people on my staff at this time. I'm planning on hiring a 4th. Right now it's a small staff, but we're just kind of, it doesn't really need to be that large because universities, you know, I kind of look at it. I would like to hire another person, but right now we're having some budget things going on with an employee side of the, you know, the salary funding, but, you know, I think it'll work out right now.
Well, Velma, how many people do you feel is needed on a yearbook staff to make a successful yearbook? Or do you feel it matters?
Well, there are all kinds of people, see. And some work very fast and furious, and some are more slow and methodic, and I guess we need all kinds. I guess it would depend on the kind of person we had, you know. Yeah. Some jobs take, like Stefan probably knows that photography, the processing itself is kind of a slow process, you know. And I can't give you an ideal number for a college publication. I've worked with high schools and usually had a class that was responsible, and that would be like 15 or 20 people or something like that. That's too many. Probably what you're working with is not enough.
Well, I think it's working out pretty well. It's working out real well right now. I think I said I have 4, and I'm planning at 4. I think I have 4 now actually, but one of Cindy Hall, my copy editor, she only works about 2 hours out of the week. She just kind of does her editing slightly. I'm planning on actually getting a 5th, but that's working full time. I guess full time as a student, but you know, and then
the others are Rigetti Brown.
Well, it's Rigetti Brown and Christy Hardy and Courtney McKenzie, and then Cindy Hall, and I'm planning on getting another person on staff. Her name is Suzanne. I can't remember her last name right at this point right now, but there's. I think that the staff right now it's optimal. It's really working out well. That each person really just kind of has their own little thing that they like to do. Like Christy is really likes to, you know, she's like an index person. She likes to do the index. I don't know anybody who loves to do the index, but she does. She likes everything organized. She likes, you know, lines and stuff like that. But she's real good like that. And then Rigetti does a lot of the. He does the academic section. He wants to do part of the organizations, and it's just everybody has their own, you know, section that they'd like to do. So everything kind of works out. It works out. So I think that's just the staff right now is pretty much it's perfect right now. I'm like at my point right now where I can't hire anybody else almost. So
are there any goals that you two have sat down, or as a staff has sat down and said, okay, we got to do this year? Any goals?
We have one big one, don't we? We've got to have a yearbook this year.
To the end of the yearbook. Well, Dr. Jones and I worked on, and she brought up a good point, is to get the productivity at the end of the month at certain periods of time, so we can make sure we're getting it done ourselves. But that's our main goal is just to try to have something, you know, at least a little something to show for each month and stuff like that.
We'll Have a nice yearbook. Double, what is it? Double in one? Or what's that
Two
little
in one.
saying?
Two for one.
Two for
for
one.
one.
There we go. Well, I thank you both for joining us today. I wish you both best of luck for a successful yearbook and for the upcoming year. Again, this was the SAU report. I'm Kerry Bubien.
And I'm Stefan Roth.
The SAU Report is a production of broadcast journalism students in the Department of Theater and Mass Communication at Southern Arkansas University in Magnolia.